for heroes holding it down. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we have a great show planned for you and a very special guest. We're going to cover a whole lot of stuff right when we come back. We'll be right back right after these messages. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. Heroes holding it down, very friends up in the house. Cause for heroes holding it down, very friends up in the house. Cause for heroes all right. What is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. If you've never been here before, remember you can always go to marfooglenews.com and get notifications directly from us. And you can't always rely on the notifications from the platform, so make sure to go over and head over there now. Sign up for alerts. Now, on top of that, every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today is going to be over on marfooglenews.com. We make sure to provide a bibliography of all of our sources. That way you know exactly where this information is coming from. Again, when you go over there, it's very easy to navigate. You just go by thumbnail, look for Megaflood predicted from California. And remember, this is actually from scientists that are saying this, not crazy loopy people. Megaflood / Cars for Heroes. Again, we have a special guest tonight, Terry Franz. We'll be bringing him in just a second. But when you go over to the website, you'll find that every single article, tweet, video, picture, document is there. Now, today, I just want to briefly go over everything we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about Vlad planning to go it alone on the space station. We're going to talk about Elon Musk. We're going to talk about the promising new treatment for depression. We're going to talk about a quarter of the U.S. will fall inside of an extreme heat belt, a disastrous mega flood in the sunny and dry California. It's happened before. Spain bans AC below 80 degrees, and much, much more. In fact, we have a ton of stuff. In fact, a whole lot more. So stick around. We have some crazier stuff at the very end, so make sure to stay until then. All right, let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
So first of all, we're going to get started, and we're actually going to go over something that we are going to be doing now. Now, I'm going to introduce Terry Franz, the founder of Cars for Heroes, here in just a second. And I just want to first off introduce, again, back in 2019, we actually did a few fundraisers. We don't want to say anything, I guess we wouldn't be saying anything bad about the previous one we did. We did one with a fundraiser. And essentially, when we did that one, everybody actually messaged us and DM'd us and said, hey, there's a really, really great charity. It's a way better charity. Go and, end up doing a fundraiser for that one. And the one that they were talking about was Cars for Heroes. Cars for Heroes essentially gets vets into vehicles. Now, as we know, our vets are not quite taken care of, and especially by state, some of them are poorly treated. And that is something that almost all of us would like to change. Now, we have a heavy audience, and we have a lot of military in our groups. We have a lot of military in our audience, of course, active and retired. So this was something that was a no-brainer back then, and it's a no-brainer now. So let's bring in Terry Franz. Terry Franz, the founder of Cars for Heroes, aka the Car Santa. Dex, do we have Terry Franz on the phone?
In about 30 more seconds, Adam. Hang on.
Okay, perfect. Now, if you were not familiar, Cars for Heroes actually does a ton of great stuff. They are constantly giving away cars. In fact, it averages about one every day, but every single Monday on Kansas radio, they actually give away a car, and they end up calling someone, some lucky veteran, and giving them a vehicle. This is a really, really awesome thing. On top of that, of course, Terry Franz, aka the Car Santa, he has done work with all sorts of huge names, and of course has given away thousands and thousands of cars at this point. So this is something that's very important to veterans. Obviously, it's really hard to find work or things like this if you don't have transportation. So this is a really, really big deal for us, and it has been for a long time. Now, Dex, it looks like, let me make sure I can see.
Terry's on the line now, Adam.
All right, Terry, I just had to introduce you. How are you doing, Terry, and what is going on?
Yeah, I'm doing great. It's great to talk to you guys. Been looking forward to having a little conversation on what we're all about, and just becoming familiar with your program.
So, and again, you
got me there?
Yes, we
Okay.
can. Can you hear me?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I got you.
So, Terry, first of all, you just gave away or called a young woman this morning, right? Or a veteran. Is that correct? You gave away one on the radio?
Yeah. Yeah, every Monday we have Military Mondays in Kansas City, and it also airs on some other stations. But we give a car away every Monday regardless, and then we add some more when it gets more towards Veterans Day and Christmas. We do where we do 20 cars all one morning. But there's random times when we do it, but it's always at least on Mondays.
Now, as far as how long have you been doing this, Terry? How long have you been doing this for veterans?
Well, I started the program in 1996, so I think this is year 27. And we've done this. We didn't always do it every week. It kind of grew like any business does. And it started, we actually started a program that just was at Christmas time. And hence I got the nickname the Car Santa because we just did it at Christmas. But as it progressed, we ended up, it evolved until we did it every Monday. And because we were doing it in July and the Car Santa was giving cars away, I said, this doesn't sound right. And we started getting applications from a lot of people that were going over the Iraq War and things. And so we decided, well, let's rename it during the nice months that we'll call it Cars for Heroes. And heroes we defined as veterans. There was a lot of active duty military that maybe the spouse was overseas and the other one here at home, the car blew up and they didn't have transportation. And then we added first responders with police, firefighters, EMTs. So that's what we consider a hero, is somebody that's giving back to the country or giving back to the community. And there's as many different stories as there are cars out there on why people need them. And so that gives us the opportunity with the media that we can tell them why we do this, who we do it for, and then they actually get to hear us award the vehicle on air. So we've been doing that now, like I say, 27 years.
Now, one of the things that is coming up right now is there is actually a 1966 GMC C10 raffle. Now, can you tell us a little bit about that and how basically what you guys are doing with that vehicle to help the heroes?
Yeah, like any charity, we need money to operate. We repair a lot of vehicles, have costs. If you can imagine, if we give 300 cars a year away, just 300 gas tanks that we got to fill up. And so we had a 1966 GMC C10 that's been fully restored. And so we're raffling it off for $100 a ticket. And we've got, I think we set it at 500 tickets. So it's a 1 in 500 chance to win the truck. And we started that just to raise the money and raise awareness about what we do. And hopefully we've got about 200 tickets sold so far. So we got 300 to go until the end of September, which is the 30th. And then we'll randomly pull a number out of the hat and award it to somebody.
Well, so, and it's a beautiful truck. It's a classic truck, which are hard to find, especially in good condition. I understand it's fully restored, but even fully restored, that's something that you have to go to a custom shop and have done. Terry, there's another thing here as far as you are actively, you are, of course, centered in Kansas, but you are actively looking for donation cars. Another way that you can actually help them is you can go to their website, and if you have an extra vehicle, or if you have a vehicle that may not be as useful for your family or for yours, or it's an extra one that has been passed down and there's nobody else to pass it down to, that's where Terry comes in and the Car Santa. If you want to donate that is also something they can do. Is that correct? They can just give you a straight up car?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. We take cars, and we can take them nationally. We have the ability to take it in. We take everything, even if it's junk. We'll take it in. That junk, it might not be a whole lot, but that's a little bit. When we get rid of the junk, that's what pays to repair the good cars. But a lot of people have an extra car, and virtually, the car might not be worth a ton of money, but we fix it up. We make sure it's mechanically sound. Engine, transmission, air blows hot and cold, all the basics. And we give it to somebody, and we look at it as a tool, it's not a prize. It's, people write me every day. I mean, we get hundreds of applications a day, 15,000 of them a year. And they say, if I had a car, I could fix my own problems. And that's what we tell them. I tell them this isn't called Fix My Life. You said if you had a car, that you could lift yourself out of whatever troubles you had. And so we supply them with that tool, and then the rest is up to them. And we have an awful lot of success stories. We work a lot with HUD-VASH, with the VA. Those are people that finally got housing, and now they need a car to get to a job and get their lives started again. So we're kind of just one wheel in the cog that makes their life better. But you can donate to us at cars4heroes.org, or if you want to buy the raffle ticket, or however you want to help, you can do it right there on our website.
And we have also done, of course, marfoogle.com/C4H or HTTP, of course, carsforheroes.org. Both are on our website. If you go to either, it just directs you straight to the website. Another part of this, too, is when you have that extra car or whatever else, you can go to that same website, carsforheroes.org, and you can go through the process to try to donate it. I believe people can also write that off if they are giving you something of use. If they're donating a car to charity, to a 501c, they can actually get some sort of tax break. So that's also good for them as well. Terry, now, as far as... this is it pretty easy to do from the consumer standpoint? They can just go to this website, fill out some forms, and then you guys come pick it up. Is that how it goes?
Absolutely. They put out the form, and then we have a staff that will call the people, and we find a time that's convenient for them. We come out and do all the paperwork right there where we pick it up, and then the way the tax deduction work is really to their benefit. If the car is capable of us giving it to a veteran, they actually get retail value as their tax deduction. And now keep in mind that 90% of every charity will do something like this. But what they do is they run it through the auction, and whatever brings that auction is what your deduction is. But with us, if the car goes to a needy person, you can actually get retail value, and that's why a lot of people prefer us. And then on the other hand, they like seeing that we've helped a hero. And but we're as quick as we can be. There are some circumstances where maybe you're in the middle of nowhere and we got to send a truck out to it. But our crews, we've been doing this for a long time, so we're pretty good at it.
Now, one question that I'm sure you get is, can people donate absolute junk cars, or is that not something? If it's something they can donate for them, do you guys take scrap cars for metal and then put that towards your charity? Or like, what if it doesn't run and it's not in good condition, but there's scrap value?
Yeah, we take them all in wherever possible. I mean, the junk cars really don't bring much as far as steel, a couple $100, but you do that 10 times, all of a sudden you got enough to fix a couple of cars up. So we take everything. We take cars, boats, trucks, motorcycles, RVs. I've taken construction equipment. I've been in the car business for 40 years, so I can turn it into a car. We'll get rid of it in whatever way we need to, so we can end up with another car. In some cases, we'll take a car in somewhere. Maybe it's got a little bit of value to it. We'll get rid of it in that area, and then we usually apply that money back in that area to a veteran. So we try to keep it local with no matter who donates it. But we make every effort we can to turn it into a car for somebody. And but we'll take everything. It doesn't matter if it's junk. It's still a couple $100 at the junkyard. We got some expenses that we got to tow it into the junkyard. But like I say, if you do it times 10, you end up fixing up 2 or 3 more cars.
Well, that's great, Terry. And just to confirm, so one of the reasons why we reached out to you is obviously, we did a fundraiser prior. The Foogle fam actually raised $718. We ended up chipping in, and total it was about $1,000.57. Just want to confirm that you got that. There was a question that eventually led us to even contacting you in the first place to fix all that confusion. Are you guys all good and squared up, and we're good to move forward and do future projects with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been doing this for a long time. Sometimes there's some confusion, and I think what it was is you guys had some hard time figuring out how to get it to me, and you contacted me. Everything was good. It's all self-explanatory. I've heard things out there where people said somebody was scamming somebody, and this is not true. I've been doing this for a long time. In fact, what it did is let us having a conversation. When you contacted me, I got all the money, and now we're looking at doing some things in the future that the two of us can combine our efforts and help some more heroes. So we're kind of excited that it all came out this way, and it's all good on our end. Well,
luckily it was stuck in the third party, so that was the main thing back then. When we did that prior fundraiser, we did 50% of the proceeds through the third party, and that had no issue. But when you do 100%, apparently there was something there that didn't go through. So it had actually sat there. So I'm glad that everything was good. In fact, negativity brought us into a positive space, and I actually this is really, really amazing. And I'm looking forward to working with you in the future, and I'm super glad that we could, move forward and basically get something going. I hope back then we were able to do that. I hope that now we have grown, that we can actually do a way better job and help way more vets. I'm hoping that Foogle fam have cars in their family that they'll be able to donate to you, and we can actually get people on the road, or possibly help 5, 10, 15 vets if possible. So that would be something that would be really, really awesome. We're also, trying to work out something to where we can use our connections to try to mix something up and get you guys, some sort of great thing that we can do for you guys as well. So thank you so much for coming on. Dex, do you have anything that you want to add?
Well, yeah, one quick question, Terry. For those who are in need, they can also go to your website, right? You have a form there for the heroes to fill out. Is that correct?
Absolutely. You go on and if you have a car, you can donate. If you have money, you can donate. And if you're in need of a car, we're always looking for good recipients. If we're going to go to all the work to give somebody transportation, we want to make sure we find somebody that we're not looking for a guy who says, "Oh, my brakes went out, I need a new car." I mean, if you listen to our stories, you can go to the website and see them. You can listen to us on the radio every Monday through the internet, but you'll understand the people out there and how important it is that they just basic transportation. Very rarely do they say, "Oh, what kind of car?" or "What, how many miles on it?" They don't ask any of that. They're so excited that they have a way. Maybe it's to get a sick kid to the doctor that they, before they'd have to call an ambulance. Or it's somebody who hasn't had a car for 2 years and is, aging a little bit, can't walk somewhere. There's so many different reasons on how to help these people. Some of them are disabled that we help out with special transportation, like a van that's wheelchair equipped. There's a lot of things we can do, and we have a lot of businesses that have stepped up and doing fundraisers for us, like you guys. And all that's important because, like I say, $700 and some odd is something that might fix 2 cars, maybe 3 cars for us. If it's where our offices are, we do the repairs ourselves. We don't go out to the dealerships and do it. And so sometimes we can fix a car for $200-300 that would cost the average person $800 or $900. So all that fundraising is important, but absolutely, we want to find the best people we can to help and give them a chance at fixing their life. So we love it when all of them put their applications in and let us know what their story is. And if we got a car in that area, if you donate in Kentucky, we're going to try to give it back in Kentucky. We are opening an office Veterans Day in Tampa, and we've already got a couple of cars we've taken in down there that we're getting ready to kick off, hopefully Veterans Day. But, veterans, we usually give 11 cars away. And when it's kind of the little hook there that it was 11 cars on the 11/11 at 11 o'clock. And we've done that for the last couple of years. And it's kind of fun to go out, and we have giant posters of our 13 fallen soldiers that we hope are not forgotten out there. And we have a lot of American Legions, VFW people that come out and watch us award the cars to all the heroes. We work with the guys, I'm sure you've heard of tiny homes that they're building out there for the veterans. Well, we work with them and usually find a couple of them that we can give a car to and get. A lot of those people have the homes, but they're riding buses to get to their work and stuff. So we can help them there. And a lot of our veterans are in rural situations. There's no bus, there's no Uber, there's nothing. They're stuck at home and they can't go anywhere. So if we can help them, and nobody's winning the lottery with us. We take in basic transportation, we fix it up, and we give it away. We do go through the cars pretty thoroughly to make sure they're decent cars. So now, we don't want to create another problem. We sincerely want to help them.
Now, can I ask, have you seen over the last couple of years, obviously the world is kind of going downhill, have you seen it get worse for the vets or better for the vets over the last couple of years? Obviously, you see all the applications and how they're doing. Do you think that they're doing better than they were when you started this, or do you think that they're doing worse?
Well, there's a lot more problems out there. I will tell something that, I see the VA, the caseworkers that work with these individuals, and they get a lot of bad rap, and I see them, they go out of their way to help find me so that they can get a caseworker who want to find a good recipient, and they do an amazing job. Now, the other problem is with our economy the way it is. Here, it used to be, when you had an old car and you say, well, it's worth $800. And so they say, well, let's just give it to charity. Well, now that car, because of the shortage of new cars and other things, now that $800 car might be worth $1,800. And so people will say, well, you know what, I'll just sell it instead of giving it to us. And I can't blame, people's money is their money, but we get fewer cars, so we have to spend a little more to fix up some that we might not have. It's getting worse, like it is with everybody in the economy. There's bigger struggles, but there is an awful lot of good organizations out there and businesses that help us. They know there's a problem, and they're helping us. And so some of it is, it's getting worse, and the other part is that there's a lot more people stepping up and say, I'd rather give it to somebody and change their life. And if you don't think it does, listen to our stories. I mean, when you hear a Marine who served our country, who's been wounded, and all of a sudden we tell him he's getting a car and he starts crying, these are pretty tough guys. And it just tells you the emotion on how important it is to get that vehicle or get their family across town. The stories are enough to move you, and that's what helps. So people hear the stories, they hear why we help, and I told people a long time ago, if you go to the Heart Association and you donate money, you feel good, but nothing really, you don't see anything. With us, we see a problem, we see a veteran that has a problem, and we fix the problem by giving them a car, and we do it every week, and more than that. And so people really they see us fix the problem. And I think that's what our popularity is it isn't the money went to a charity and they have a big overhead and all that. We have none of that. We're totally transparent. We don't have any paid employees. Everybody is volunteer work. Now, a lot of them own their own businesses and are doing pretty well, and they're the ones that help us a lot too. So we go out and we like to support those businesses and go out and give cars away sometimes at their businesses. Sometimes they have a big event they want to do, and so we go and join them. And we have a lot of celebrities over the years, Ted Nugent and Kiss with Gene and Paul. We went to Sturgis one year, and Jesse James Dupree called me, and he says, "Hey, we've got a veteran that he lost both his legs and one of his arms. Is there any kind of motorcycle that would work for him?" They wanted to give it they had a show, Full Throttle Saloon. And funny enough, I did have one. It was a BMW Trike. You wheeled your wheelchair into it, locked it down. It was an automatic, so you didn't need feet. And we put all the hand controls on one handlebar. And we gave it to him at Sturgis here, I guess it was 3 or 4 years ago. It was a Corporal Todd Love, I believe was his name. And he was excited to get it, but it just shows you, and these guys, that was on their dime. They sent me the money for it. I went and found it and purchased it, shipped it up to them. So there's a lot of people that help in different ways. And if you've got a weird idea, even though it sounds weird, give me a call. If I can put it together and help another hero, we certainly go out of our way to do it.
Well, I knew a Vietnam II vet that lost both of his hands, and he actually drove using a modified car with his feet, and the people called him the Frogman. Many people, if you're local, you may actually know him. He drives around in these hot rods, like beautiful classic cars, and in fact, I met him. I was a 20-year-old working at a drive-through, and he would come through every day, and the first thing you see is his feet driving the car. He actually helped vets that were in the same exact position as he was, and of course anybody that with those kind of modified needs. So I think it's really great when you find a charity like yourself that works with others. You of course have worked with your constituents and your peers to kind of combine, just like you said, combining the tiny homes with of course the transportation. You really can't work unless you have transportation, depending on where you are. If you are living in the Midwest out in the country, here, if you're living in Seattle, yes, you can get almost anywhere by bus. We have one of the best bus systems out there. But if you are living, say, out in the sticks, there's no buses. We're a very rare case as far as how well you can get from place, A to B. Whereas depending on where you are in the country, you're not getting anywhere without transportation, or at least not anywhere reliably that doesn't take 3 to 4 hours and a bunch of walking, which, if you know, some of our vets have disabilities, so that's not the easiest thing in the world. So I am very happy to help you guys, and I hope that the Foogle fam, looks deep and finds, any kind of car that they have in their families, or if you know somebody, try to get that car to the right place. Try to get it to somewhere where it's actually going to help. Especially if it's a $500, $1,000 car, obviously everybody's got financial issues right now, and the economy is just going to crud. But there is still a place that, will take these in, and it will help somebody a whole lot. And we're talking about people's lives being changed by this. They could get the job that ends up getting them back into housing, that, could end up getting them all sorts of different places they would have never gotten without that transportation. So, Terry, I want to thank you for coming on, and I hope it's not the last time. I hope to have you on for future projects, and we're currently working on that, and a future project that I think will be really good for you guys as well. So thank you so much for coming on and giving us your time, and apologize for the mix-up, and I'm glad that everything was fine. So.
Yeah, everything was great, guys, and we're really honestly kind of excited to do some stuff with you. It's always fun to collaborate with somebody else. You get a different perspective. You got different friends. Everything gets put together, and we all end up working together, and somebody gets helped, and that's why we do it. You see the look on these people's face when they get transportation and see the relief. It's all about relief. It's not, oh boy, I got a prize. It's, oh look, I can get across town now, or I can go see my kids that I haven't seen for 2 years because I didn't have transportation, whatever it is. But it's great to work with you guys and see what else we can do to help somebody else.
All right. Well, thank you, Terry. And then Dex, if you want to say goodbye as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Terry. I really appreciate your time and love what you're doing to help people out there, and looking forward to doing much more with you in the near future.
All right. Well, that was.
Well, I think we will, so I'm excited.
Well, thank you so much. And that's the Car Santa, a.k.a. Terry Franz from Cars for Heroes. If you want to help, go either to carsforheroes.org, or if it's easy to remember, marfooglenews.com/C4H. That's, again, carsforhero.org or marfooglenews.com/C4H. Thank you, everybody that goes over and supports in advance. And again, we're working on another project that I think will be really, really helpful to this as well. So thank you, guys. Also, carrying our cross across the nation, thank you for subscribing. Patricia Thomas, thank you for subscribing. Sandra Sweet, Redhead Mama 81, and everybody else that just joined. And 411 says, do we donate to the website? It has the instructions on how to donate. There's different ways you can donate depending on how you're doing it, whether you want to donate a card, donate cash, donate a check, or if you want to, of course, be a recipient and apply. The one really bad part about this is he has told us how shockingly big the number is of people that fill out these forms and how small that pool is. Obviously, they get it to the kind of top priority people, and they look at it and they say, who needs this the absolute most? And then they go in the order of that. But there is so much room for all of you to get a car to them. So just, and any of your donations will help them get somebody into a car that runs well, and that will get them to work. Like I said, they're not giving away, pimp my ride, things or something. They're giving away reliable cars and transportation to vets. So thank you guys. And I really thank and appreciate Terry Franz coming on here. I believe it was a big mix-up there, so I thank everybody, and now we're turning negative into positive once again. All right, we're going to get into the news. Thank you, everybody that has just popped in. Let's go right into it. Vlad, planning to go it alone, unveils model of new space station. Again, this is pretty crazy stuff. We've already talked about this in prior shows. Now, Dex, now you have G making his own essentially his own ISS or his own space station, and now you have Vlad unveiling the plans and a physical model of what it will actually look like. This is one of the images that was released. What do you think that this is going to be used for? I think that this obviously looks, I guess, similar. Why are all of them doing these separate projects?
Well, it's obvious that we weren't necessarily getting along when it comes to relations right now.
No, I'm sorry to laugh. Android Architect says that's the actual size. that made me chuckle. Sorry.
That's funny.
Like the library where the kids who can't read good, how are they going to fit in the library if they can't even fit inside? Oh man, sorry. But go ahead. I apologize.
No, that's hilarious. Great comment. But yeah, obviously relations have fallen apart between, their country and ours, and the others that we're all working together with the International Space Station. So, this is not unexpected. We've already seen this with the G, and he went and launched, and it's actually built, is I think in the final stages of putting together their own space station. We know it's up there. We know they've had astronauts up there, and I think they have a few more parts to put on till they reach their first major milestone of what they would call completion. I guess they'll continuously add to it, just like we've always done with the ISS. But it's interesting to see that what they're expecting. When I say they, I mean Vlad and that country, and what they're doing here specifically with their space station. So it does look a lot similar, but I guess that's a common theme for how they build these things. They usually fit inside of a rocket tube, and that's the sort of the shape. It's not like they're going to be giant long rectangles and look like houses that are floating in space. So they there is some commonality, but we'll have to see how this plays out, what they're going to do with it. I'm certain they'll be doing scientific stuff like they've always done in space, but when a country is doing something on their own, then they tend to have more flexibility. in secrecy to do things that they don't necessarily have to disclose to others. So maybe some of the tests and things that they'll do, you know, we do plenty of our own tests where we maybe don't use the ISS. We just send up like that orbiting military craft we've talked about a few times. It's been up there going around the longest number of times. It's a reusable drone craft, but it was doing all sorts of
X-37B
secret,
or something.
Yes,
yeah,
that one. You know, I'm sure we're doing all sorts of experiments on that. Probably not with humans, but you know, there's certainly that opportunity. And when they're on their own, I think that they have a lot more flexibility to do that. So maybe on that aspect, they're looking at that as an advantage.
By the way, a couple people said, so RG says, do we have to donate a car? No, you can donate cash. When they get cash, that goes towards the purchase of a vehicle. Again, and then also... someone
and
else
parts.
said, John Black 81 said that back, I forget what year, they said back when I was homeless, the VFW got me a car and it was a game changer. So yes, that is pretty cool. Major, the cost of that advert was $0 because that was not an advert, and we are doing a project for that, and I appreciate all of you guys that go over and actually do it. When we do these things, again, we hope that everybody goes over and gives it a chance to go to the website, check out what they're doing, and try if you can. If you don't have the ability to, then don't. But if you do have extra funds, go over and try to get a vet into a car. That would help. And especially a lot of us are, of course, a lot of us are looking at things we can do right now while also watching our money and trying to, I guess, live in what is going on right now. All right. And then, so as far as the space...
And if you're in need too, Adam, that's the big one, right?
Yeah.
If you're in need, make sure you go fill out their form too. Get on their list.
Yeah, we have vets right now that are homeless in the audience. So go over and fill it out. Don't think because there's only a certain amount given out. Who knows? You know, your story might, or it could be by convenience. I don't know. Say if you live somewhere and somebody else wants to donate, maybe they'll connect you directly to that. I don't know how exactly it works, but I know that they take cars in all over the place, and they probably look at the fact that if they have to transport the car from place A to B, then it's better. Elon Musk's rights column for the Xi Communist Party online censor agencies magazine. Now, I showed you when Elon did that piece, and essentially what happened is he talked to Twitter and their staff, and he talked to Twitter's employees when he was going to buy the company. There was a couple quotes in the leaked video that really, really irked me. He says, hey, I totally believe in freedom of speech, but, I also believe in the freedom of reach. And he was talking about Weibo. WeChat. He mentioned WeChat and Weibo in this video, and he says, Xi basically has the best social media platform ever. It's a great app. It works really great. And he was speaking about the app that essentially tracks everyone's movements. Now, I know people are back and forth on Elon. In fact, I just met a vet the other day, Hank. He says, he's really rooting for him. I am rooting for him, too, to be a good guy. But we do have to point out when he does this stuff with Xi, it's very odd, like him saying that WeChat is great, that, just because, I believe in freedom of speech doesn't mean I believe in freedom of reach. Basically, you can say what you want. You're the crazy guy in the corner yelling, but you're not going to be heard by anybody. And that's something that we have been arguing and debating about for a long time, like reaching new people. If they shadow ban you, do you think shadow banning is right if there's such thing as free speech? What if your crazy talk is actually fact? Over the last couple of years, we've seen where a real story got buried by, fact checkers, and it turned out that the story was completely true and completely, verified and everything else. So it says the column does not mention Mr. Musk's current conflict with Twitter, an acquisition that he at the time justified the grounds of how much he values free speech, something which runs counter to the work of the Cyberspace Administration. Elon Musk has written in a column in a magazine published by Xi's Cyberspace Administration, or the CAC, responsible for censoring content online. In the column, Elon Musk celebrates his own business, in particular SpaceX, Tesla, and Neuralink, while setting what he says is a better future for humanity. So also, one thing to think about is his second largest manufacturing company or factory is over in Xi's country. So he has a lot invested with Xi, and I kind of look at what's happening right now, how things are going with Xi and their country, and I'm thinking, how does this even work? What if that all goes to crap? It says in the column, Elon Musk celebrates, of course, all three of his companies, and it says it doesn't mention the current conflict with Twitter, an acquisition which at the time he justified on the grounds of how much he values free speech, something which runs counter to the work of China's online regulator. The billionaire claimed he was invited to the magazine to contribute his, quote, thoughts on the vision of technology and humanity, which included founding a self-sustaining city on Mars. Any area that contributes to a sustainable future is worthy of our investment, he wrote. Whether it's Tesla, Neuralink, or SpaceX, these companies were all founded with the ultimate goal of enhancing the future of human life and creating as much practical value for the world as possible. It says, quote, Tesla to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy, Neuralink for medical rehabilitation, and SpaceX for making interstellar connections possible. See what I mean? Like I've talked about this before. Every company he does is connected somehow with our future. This is why people also, and you have to admit, just like T-Man, some people worship Elon, and they don't even realize it. I am in the space where I really hope he is a good guy. But a lot of us have lost faith in almost everybody. And I get why people lose faith in just regular people. Nobody believes anything right now. Everybody is paranoid, looking over their shoulder. Who is this? Who is that? And that's because we have been lied to so much. So as far as this goes, it says the billionaire has long taken a softer stance towards the Xi government than he has towards the authorities in the U.S., whom he's repeatedly criticized when their actions conflict with his business interests. Now, by the way, the things he says about the U.S. is I believe is completely true. At the same time, he has gone soft, and there was many instances of this, including on one of their anniversaries, basically saying they're doing a great job, and they asked him a question, and he responded and didn't call out the kind of elephant in the room. It says, well, he described CV lockdowns in the U.S. as fascism. He held his tongue about similar moves in Xi's country, despite them being much more draconian and also impacting production at the Tesla factories. Well, one thing you can say about that is he probably wouldn't be able to say that. He's probably trying to balance his business there as well. And if you say the wrong thing, you're out. I mean, look at Hollywood. They will turn down billions of dollars in revenue because somebody has a Taiwan patch on their back, or they'll have, somebody will have a scene that's too patriotic. So with the, Statue of Liberty, like Spider-Man. So we're following it. We always follow what he is doing, and especially any kind of moves that he makes with Xi's country. The promising new treatment for depression, giant magnets. Dex, do you want to cover this one real quick?
Wow. So, we've obviously, this is something that's plagued many people. And sometimes it can bother people just for a period in their life. And some people deal with it their entire lives. But, what they're doing is they're coming out with, I guess, this has been going on for a few years, but they're actually able to publish, I guess, some of the information specifically around how they were using transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS, using large magnets on different locations in the brain, and how it could actually help decrease, I guess, depression. And so, this is obviously a very new thing, but if you think about it from a point of view of maybe, some of these pharmaceuticals can have a lot of side effects and have a lot of other problems that you may or may not like, or some people, I think even in this article, one person had been suffering for 20 years and went through just about every medication, and every time there's a new one, they try it too, but nothing, only works for a little while, and then they have to move on to something else, right? So finding, alternatives that actually look like they can be promising to help people is a good thing. I don't know exactly how this works, but it is definitely something when we look at these alternative ways of doing things. And of course, this is not medical advice by any means. This is just a report coming out in the news from the research that's been done. But this is kind of promising if they're looking at ways to fix an ailment like this and do it in a non-invasive way.
So let me tell you the basic description of it. It says, after several unsuccessful alternative therapies, the Portland-based writer came across transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS. It says a type of non-invasive brain stimulation that applies magnetic pulses to the head to activate neurons in the left dorsolateral prefrontal cortex brain region that is thought to be dysregulated in people who are depressed. Now, we're not saying that this absolutely works. What my opinion on this is I think that the internet also did bring in something else, which a lot of folks were able to communicate natural ways to heal things. I personally believe that big pharmaceuticals is a very evil thing, and we know this from all of the people they have paid off, that their absolute lives have been ruined. If you see almost every ad break on any single TV show, you will see the ad for a medication. And this is because they have the hugest chunk of ad buying, and that, I have to say, will have to affect how companies end up deciding, what to play and what not to play. Pharmaceutical companies have a big deal of control in media. And if you say anything bad about their medication, they much rather have you on their medication until you die, and it might be an overpriced $1,000 pill, rather than some natural way that you could fix that problem without it. Now, what's cheaper? If this actually worked and that you went and did this once a year, or a daily pill that you take every single day? I would probably bet you could do this, and if it did fix something and it changed or restarted your electrical brain, then that would be freaking sweet. I also, there's a lot of folks out there that believe that they have had breakthroughs in certain things, but they cover it up because they don't want to lose a revenue. They even say that the future is actually based in the and that pretty much everything will have a certain intervention you can take, and it will help you fix a problem or change your DNA or change this or change that and fix it. And that could even be done before you're even born in the future. Dex?
Well, and I want to say it was Yuki Lover and a few others in chat have actually said, "Hey, TMS works. I'm using it myself." So it's interesting to hear that. Again, this is kind of new to me. I've not dealt with this, but seeing even folks in our community say they've actually undergone this kind of treatment.
I have never heard of it. Again, it's called transcranial magnetic stimulation. Put that into the DuckDuckGo and search it out. All right, and then a quarter of the U.S. will fall inside of an extreme heat belt. Here are the states in the red zone. Now, something to point out here is there are a lot of places right now going through extreme heat. We have all noticed the difference. There are definitely a lot of great creators out there like Jason A. putting together a lot of the news pieces that really aren't getting national coverage. But when you put it all together, it's very, very insane to see how many strange weather events have been happening almost all the time for the last 5 years. Things have been getting worse and worse and worse. And we'll get into it here in a minute with the whole Megaflood prediction from scientists in a dry state, that being. But it says that First Street Foundation, whose property-level climate risk studies can be used by home buyers, adds an extreme heat model to its reports on floods and wildfires. It says last month, just as a record-setting heat wave scorched the UK and parts of Europe, some 60 million Americans experienced a string of hot and humid days that topped 100 degrees. It says prepare for more of these extremes. New research and an accompanying planning tool show that across the U.S., on average, the local hottest 7 days are expected to become the hottest 18 days by 2053. By that year, 1,023 U.S. counties are expected to exceed 125 degrees, an area that is home to 107.6 million Americans and covers the quarter of the U.S. land area, says nonprofit First Street. So they're saying 125 degrees. Now, I experienced a record-breaking and insane temperature last year here. It hit 118. And it hit, in a lot of parts, it hit 110, 112, 116. I personally felt, and was driving through 118 degree temperatures with my car, saying that the inside of my car was 130 plus degrees. I absolutely understand how crazy that is, and it was a nightmare. It was worse than anything I've ever gone through, and that is also on top of being from Seattle, which is always like 60 or 50 degrees. Like, we're not used to the heat when it comes. They even make TikTok jokes about how weak we are when it does get hot. This was unbelievable. A lot of people perished in the Northwest on that day just from the heat stroke and everything else. I cannot imagine 7 degrees hotter than that, and that happening on a regular basis. And this is something that's, just absolutely nuts. That 118 degree day beat out records in some of the hot states that you expect it to be over 100 all the time. And we beat out those records here. So it's just unbelievable that we would even be in a place like that. Just insane. Dex.
Yeah, and if you, I think it loaded in here. If you scroll down, there's an interesting heat map where they show the difference between 2023 and predicted 2023 and predicted 2053. And in one map, they're showing the temperature being as high in certain areas, especially in that Texas range. But then the bottom half of this image is the number of days, the number of continuous days with that high heat, going up to 34 straight days or 11 days at the minimum. So it's a pretty profound change they're predicting. Of course, this is just coming from scientists. They may have their own motives, et cetera, but we're reporting on it as we see it and find it, and we have to think about what does this mean, what could be doing this, and how is it going to affect us, and what can we do to prepare ourselves in the coming years.
Which a lot of, I'm sure there's going to be some people that end up moving. If you look, it's the bottom half of the country. They say to home of 107 million people. And by then, who knows how many people will be living there? More, or hopefully not less. So this also kind of goes into one of our next stories, so we'll go into that in just a second. Before we move on, I do want to remind folks, if you haven't already, this show is powered by Energy. If you haven't heard of this already, this is a solar generator. Energy is actually a portable solar generator that can also be basically transformed into an actual solution for an uninterrupted power supply. Now, the Flex 1500 is expandable. That's one of the coolest parts, is you can actually stack in its own footprint, no external cords, up to 5 batteries in each stack, and you can actually connect up to 96 batteries. So essentially, you can make an entire wall or a battery wall for your home or for your campsite or for whatever. The really special part about this is it's absolutely silent. If we do have an SHTF situation or even a big disaster, the last thing you want to do is having people from blocks away know that you have power and they don't. If things really did get bad, and like many predict it will, then you definitely want to go stealth. This makes absolutely no sound. It can be inside your house. It does not have to be put outside. There's no noxious gases, and it can be modded. Another great part is you can actually get boxes that go in between the batteries called the Supercharger Mods, and those allow it to actually take in 3 times the amount of input. I am soon going to get this. I have been slowly building up. I started with 1 battery. Now I have 2. I'm going to get a supercharger mod. And then, of course, I'm going to get more panels. I only have 4 right now, and I'm actually doing great with that. But when you start getting into where you want to actually power your your entire home for however much time, it's very easy to do the math. Each battery is 1,000 watt hours, so it's really easy to figure out how much power you need and how much power you want. Go to marfooglenews.com/energy. There are several sales on several packages, upwards of $170 off only with our link. So go over to marfooglenews.com/energy with an I. That's INERGY. And we have a lot of exciting news when it comes to energy in the future. So can't say much yet, but there is going to be some really, really cool stuff coming out. So, and then make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Obviously, that helps us. That helps us with the commission, and it helps you with the discount. So everybody wins. When you go and purchase this helps support independent media like ourselves. Again, we're not a big conglomerate. We're two guys with the laptops and volunteer mods. So thank you guys. We appreciate it. All right. That's, again, marfooglenews.com/energy. Make sure to go over there today. All right. Now we're going to talk about this Megaflood. Now, over the last couple days and over the weekend, a lot of talk about this because they were talking about essentially what we have talked about for years is like, that Navy map we were talking about where there's been this rumor that part of the country would be covered in water. This goes into that. But first, before I go into that, I do want to say thank you to Joseph Newhouse. Thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate that. Again, thank you everybody that just popped in. It looks like Derek McLovin says, I have not been here in a few weeks, just want to show some lovin'. Well, Derek McLovin, I appreciate that. And then, of course, Joseph Newhouse says, I made a music video with the CL Tie, a Cherry song. Joseph, I will check it out, and thank you for the support. I appreciate that. Redhead Mama 81, thank you for the support. And then Fate Favors the Prepared Dean. Before the show even started, you did a $5 super chat. I appreciate that, and thank you for the super sticker. And then that Gen X dude, thank you as well. I appreciate the support. Again, thank you for the $7.77. Thank you. Over on DLive, we have a lot of people that just popped in. Thank you, everybody that is watching over on that platform. We, of course, have Maui Racing Realtor. It says, aloha, Adam, Dex, and Fugel fam. Kelly2334, it was nice seeing you over in Paul Begley's show. And then Cloud Farrell, love you, fam, hee. R. Tate, awesome crowd in here. Yes, there's lots of great people over there. If you don't like the YouTube crowd, I would definitely recommend it. Again, thank you guys. J-Girl, that's me, Kahaja Fly Girl, and everybody else that just popped in as well. They're two different vibes completely, though. I will say that. They have their own vibe. I've always liked DLive as well. All right, and then going down real quick, it says a new study is raising concerns about the great change happening to our climate. And it says fueled floods dropping massive amounts of water on drought-plagued California, an unlikely sounding scenario that has actually happened before. Now, before we go into this, I want to remind everybody, Las Vegas actually had freak floods. Dex, wasn't it just in the last week Las Vegas actually had the main strip just completely flooded out? Not for the first time.
I think it happened twice.
Yes, it happened twice. Videos all over the internet of these, million dollar casinos were flooded and had water pouring out of their light fixtures and slot machines being covered in plastic because everything was underwater. It was something out of a science fiction film. People, in 3 foot of water in a casino in Las Vegas. That's like straight up out of an end of the world movie. Las Vegas, one of the driest places on earth, ended up having these massive floods, and not once, but at least twice. If there was more than that, let me know. But this was just recently, in the last couple months, there's been 2 massive floods where they just get dumped on. Go ahead.
And what's interesting about that is it's an area that was dry, right? We've always reported about how they have no water there with the lake drying up. Contrast that with somebody like Kentucky, who also had a massive flood that was just recently in the last month that displaced tons of people, and that was horrible too. And we also saw was it up in was it Wyoming or it was Yellowstone? that we had some massive flooding too. So this has been occurring quite a bit, at least in these regional areas. But what they're talking about here makes that look like a walk in the park.
Yeah, they're talking about mega floods. It says, well, intense droughts, fires, and earthquakes are typically the main concern across the West. The study released Friday warned of another crisis looming in California, mega floods. It says it notes that the change is increasing the risk of floods that could submerge cities and displace millions of people across the state. It says an extreme month-long storm could bring feet of rain in some places and, of course, more than 100 inches to hundreds of miles of California. Now, this is official narratives that California will be underwater by a mega flood. Now, I want to point out, of course, we've seen these maps kind of spread around of California being underwater, but I also want to point out that there was mainstream media and official narrative told us matter-of-factly that by 2030, because of the moon's wobble, this sounds like science fiction, this is considered fact in the science world, or at least this is something that they have put out there, is that because of the moon's wobble, that we will have mega flooding and catastrophic floods all over our planet by 2030. And it makes you wonder why all of these very, very incredibly well-off people, the elites of our planet, are investing in getting off of Earth. I mean, it's not a secret. It's not even a conspiracy. It's a fact. We have Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and all Richard Branson, and everybody else investing in getting off of here. You have official news of them sending DNA samples of every single species on Earth to the moon. That Xi and every other major state country is trying to get something set up on the moon, and looking at also things like destroying asteroids and getting off Earth and interplanetary. So it may just be evolution, or maybe they possibly know something. It makes me wonder, that's for dang sure. It says, well, the scenario might sound like something out of a movie. It's happened before. California has experienced severe floods throughout the 20th century, including in 1969, 86, and in 1997. But a flood from farther in the past, the Great Flood of 1862, is being eyed by researchers as the threat to California as it grows by the day. It says, though it occurred 160 years ago, the flood, deemed a megastorm for its historical rainfall covering huge swaths of the state, illustrate that the threat is not merely theoretical. In fact, the UCLA researchers studying megafloods say such storms typically happen every 100 to 200 years, meaning that it's not something that happens every 10,000 or 50,000 years. It actually happens about every 1 to 2 centuries. The last one being in 1862. 1962 would be 100. Now we're at about 150 years. So this would be in the next 50 years if it was going to happen. It makes you double think, buying a house in California. And the Great Flood of 1862 was also preceded by a drought. How bad was the Great Flood of 1862? Well, it says intense rainstorms pummeled central California virtually unabated from Christmas Eve 1861 until January of 1862. So it actually happened from Christmas Eve into January, 30 days straight almost. Scientific American chronicled in a 2013 story on the coming megastorms. So this is the official narrative, that we are getting these megastorms on the way. I mean, what have thought about that? Like, just think about that. People have, talked about this as crazy theories or rumors. Now they're saying it's a fact that we're going to get scary storms in places that, these are biblical storms, and they're going to be happening in places that don't normally happen. So pretty wild, to say the least. It says thousands of farms are entirely underwater, cattle starving and drowning, wrote scientist William Brewer. And it says in a letter to his brother, cited by Scientific American, he says, all the roads in the middle of the state are impassable, so all mails are cut off. The telegraph also does not work clear through. In the Sacramento Valley, for some distance of the tops of the poles are underwater. This was back in 1862. This was a letter essentially chronicling this, and it was as high as the telephone or the telegraph poles. So think about that in today's, technological world, where, of course, that would be surpassing where the stoplights are. It says an estimated 4,000 people perished and 1/3 of all property in the state was destroyed. Think about that. 1/3 of one of the largest states in the country, California, was destroyed. And that's not even Cascadia or, of course, the San Andreas. So those are other disasters that are kind of looming and hanging over their heads. Personally, I would move out of California now. What do you think about it? And do you know anything about it? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear from you. And then Kenny Crowder says, hey, Adam, Dex, Foogle fam, and the best mods on YouTube. I still can't connect to your links. Love your way. Kenny, which links are you talking about? Like our affiliate links, our show notes links? Let me know. I'd love to know what links are not working. Maybe it's on our end. And then Spain bans AC below 80 degrees during record-setting summer heat. So they're telling people that they cannot put their AC on unless it is over 80 degrees. Dex, this seems like it's kind of draconian, don't you think?
Yeah, we've talked about the things. I want to say it was ERCOT and others. That would have been Texas, and then I know they talked about it with water, but maybe they also did it with thermostats in California, where they had a volunteer program where the power company could come in and adjust things if you allowed them to. But that's voluntarily. This is totally different. This is creating a legal thing, or creating an absolute draconian statement that says you have to do this, and let's face it, they probably have the ability to do it, and if they don't, they will before too much further in the future, especially as more and more of these systems are online systems and they're not the old-fashioned thermostats where you move them with your hands, right?
Yeah, these are, and by the way, we have talked about how now most houses in most metropolises are now being switched over as far as all of our power and utilities. A lot of these utility companies are going to digital means, so they don't actually have to come off and turn off things or do this or do that. They can read it remotely through the internet, and they're all connected wirelessly. In fact, they can chain them along, and they can sit in the office and then check your usage. This sounds like a good thing and super convenient. But when we are going into the future, they're telling us the narrative is that everything is going to change because of weather. That also means that there's going to be more things like this. As far as Spain bans it, yeah, nobody cares. It's in Spain, right? And I'm sure there's a couple Spain viewers like, what the heck? I'm here. But when this comes and it's global, and almost every government is controlling your heat, controlling your water, controlling your utilities, controlling when you can do something, when you can't do something, what you can buy, how you can buy it. If you can't buy it with cash, you have to buy it digitally. And this is why we've talked so much about something that is a big fear as far as everyone having a universal income. These things all are tied in together, and as far as being able to control your utilities, rolling blackouts for power, cutting off your water supply for summers for drought reasons, or limiting your electricity, or knowing that you are using too much electricity because you're running your AC. I mean, these things are all getting really, really crazy. So Spain is one of the first. And it's not going to be the last. It says these mandates will have little, if any, impact on detaching from Vlad or preventing shortages. Instead, they serve as cover for an energy policy blunders that long ago transferred massive geopolitical leverage to Vlad and inflated electricity costs. So not great. And then we have Baja California tries to return to normal after a weekend of cartel violence. Dex, I'll let you cover this. In fact, I just watched, I want to say Alaska Prepper did a video about this either yesterday or today, or I forget what day it was. It was either 2 days ago or yesterday. Very crazy stuff. Dex, go ahead.
Well, yeah. So all the news was reporting about what was happening in Tijuana specifically, and on that side of the border because of so much, I guess, coverage with the cartel there. It got really out of hand. Well, it was so bad that it was actually spilling over. So this is, there's a lot of Tijuana's right there by the border of Southern California. So, there's a lot of, concern, and a lot of people actually go there. And there was even major events that they were concerned about. Some were canceled. Others were monitored very closely, and they had to bring in additional, patrols to make sure those events didn't happen. A lot of cruise ships that would port there decided not to because all of this was going on. So yeah, this was kind of a big deal.
And cruise lines, in fact, I wonder if Hank and Rhiannon, I forgot to ask where their cruise was actually going, but if it's going down to Mexico, I wonder. It was like a week-long cruise, so I wonder if they were going to like the Alaska one or to down the West Coast. I wonder if they'll be affected by this. When I was in Mexico, I was in Bucerias and Sayulita. I know that Sayulita, but even back then, it's just been this back and forth. I have heard many different opinions on, of course, the cartels down there. One of my buddies told me that the cartels are the only ones that fix streets and things, and they're down there. And they said, what's crazy is that the cartels actually do a lot of good, or at least that was his opinion. But also there's places where they actually have military guarding little towns. Like Sayulita back then had armed guards. And I remember being on vacation when I was a teenager and thinking, what are all these armed guards for? And they said that's for to keep the cartel out. The whole country has gone through just so many ups and downs with the cartel violence that it's definitely staggering to look at all of the stuff that goes on in Tijuana and on the other side of the border. So I'm hoping everyone stays safe down there. If you are vacationing or visiting, I know F&A Van Life are actually down there right now. I wonder what's going on down there. And then the iCountry ran to the store, denies being involved in the attack on Salman Rushdie. Now, if you didn't hear, Salman Rushdie, which was a much bigger name back in the 80s, he has had essentially a bounty on him. It was over $1 million. In fact, it recently went up to $3.3 million put out by a religious group, basically wanting to have somebody take him out. Some guy went up on stage and poked him 15 times. It was really, really nasty. It says, Dubai, United Arab Emirates, an government official denied on Monday that Tehran was involved in the assault on author Salman Rushdie in the remarks that were the country's first public comments on the attack. The comments by Nassar Kanani, spokesman of Iran Foreign Ministry, came over 2 days after the attack on Rushdie in New York. However, Iran has denied carrying out the other operations abroad, targeting dissidents in the years since the country's 1979 Islamic Revolution, despite prosecutors and Western governments attributing such attacks back to Tehran. So think about this, though. So they're denying any involvement. I just question just the little possibility that, say, it was some other agency in the world. Just, it's a creepy thing to think about. It says, we, in the incident of the attack on Salman Rushdie in the U.S., do not consider that anyone deserves blame and accusations except him and his supporters. That was what Kanani, the guy, said. Nobody has the right to accuse in this regard. You never know what really happens behind closed doors. You also don't know what all of these different agencies around the world, MI6 and CIA and Mossad and all of these other agencies, of course, what kind of stuff they end up doing. What's really shocking is how much stuff actually happens all over the world at all times, and people don't realize that they may very well be some sort of operation by some government, and that's a freaky thing to think about. And I wonder. I always hope that I'm never, in the middle or out at a concert or something and a part of one of these things. So, and then Dex, you remember back then, this was a huge deal when he wrote all of these different, when he authored all of these different things.
Well, yeah, certainly. He wrote a book called Satanic Verses, I believe was the name of it, and it was basically going after that religion specifically, and they didn't take to it very lightly. It was his opinion. It was it was very famous. He instantly was targeted immediately, and for a long time it was heralded as everybody was trying to get him, and he was sort of in hiding for a while. So that as you said, I think the bounty was a couple million, and like you said, a few years after it got raised to 3.3. And it's kind of interesting that this happened. More so, I think it's that it happened on U.S. soil, right? This guy, he travels the world, or at least he did, quite a bit. So, but this incident, happened in the U.S. It wasn't something that we don't normally see that kind of stuff happen. When it comes to prominent figures like that, in the past, it wasn't normal to see that. And although we've seen a lot of these different events happen in other countries, and I don't know what this means to us. I know some people have thought this was a signal or this was something else. We'll have to just wait and see. I would just say, as any type of information we take in, analyze it, look at it, apply information that you get to it, and try to make your best judgments as to what you think may or may not be happening in the world.
Yeah, question everything, and then look at other events that happen that same day. Look at everything. Look at how different countries end up covering it, and try to piece together whatever truth you can. All right, and then before we move on, by the way, Maria Madrigal, I love the name. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support, and thank you, Kanos Kid. Maria Madrigal says, here in Morgan Hill, California, they are building a drain for 100+ year flood. They're spending millions on these projects. So Maria Madrigal, I'm assuming that's related to exactly what we were talking about. I would love to see, I'll have to look up pictures of it. Kanos Kids says, I manage an HVAC company. Get your HVAC systems checked now and get worn parts replaced. Most come from G's country and are not being restocked. So Kanos Kid, I go back to that person that said, oh, I've ordered 50 things from Amazon from, G's country in a month, and they've all come no problem. There are so many things that are not coming. I don't understand. There's an illusion that we're doing fine. Like Alaska Prepper actually just said about the food, most of us are still eating food that was actually farmed in 2021. A lot of folks don't realize this. So All right, we're back. Sorry about that, guys. All right, had to fix something. It looks like, again, we had some technical difficulties. Whew. Last time it happened, I did not know how to fix it. This time I did. So, anyways, Dex, do we have you and are we good?
Yes, I am here, Adam. If you can hear me, we are good.
All right, thank you. We lost about 500 folks, so I apologize. Sorry about that. Ignoring the UKR setbacks, Vlad boasts of Russian weapons prowess. Now, in the title, there is obviously a bias, right? Saying, oh, forget about UKR doing so good. They're saying they've got these badass weapons and they're ready to use it. It says, President Vlad said on Monday that Moscow is ready to sell advanced weapons to allies globally and cooperate in developing military technology nearly 6 months into the UKR conflict, in which his army has performed worse than expected. With the Vladian leader's forces now beaten back from UKR's 2 biggest cities and making slow headway at heavy cost in the east of the country, now the conflict has so far not proved to be a convincing showcase for Vlad's arms industry. But the Kremlin leader, addressing an arms show outside of Moscow, insisted that Vladian weaponry was years ahead of the competition. Which, of course, if you talk about publicly, they came out with their hypersonics or said they had hypersonics before anybody else did. Didn't really at 100% verify anything because the U.S. said they questioned it. Xi even said that they questioned it. And now, they all say that they have hypersonics. It says that Vlad cherished its strong ties with Latin America, Asia, and Africa and is ready to offer partners and allies the most modern types of weapons. So one thing this is also doing is this is reaching out to countries, and they're basically setting their sides and saying, we will give you this technology, these weapons, whatever else, you take our side, which could give them, of course, localized powers, and of course that could let them be more powerful. Dex, do you see how this could actually draw people in to be their ally?
Well, certainly. The messages that come out of these sides and how they phrase them certainly have their own issues and their own agendas, so to speak, right?
Yeah, and I just wonder. I wonder this comes off of this whole week of media saying one thing or another. Basically, everybody is arguing about who is doing better right now, which probably means that the U.S. is going to send another $1 billion, but who knows? Dex, go ahead.
I also think that this is all a part of a lot of dog and pony show coming from Vlad. We saw at the very beginning of the show, we talked about what they were doing in space, and you're about to talk about this next article, which comes from this event, where they are showcasing and highlighting all of their equipment, right? So part of this may be chest beating on his part. Part of it may be his own internal ganda for his own population. But the image you're showing right there is one of the things that came out of this, amongst many other of the weapons of prowess, as they call it, right? But yeah, that's one of the infamous robot dogs. But I think that has an RPG on it. We've seen other things on it, but this is Vlad's. This is not ours.
Okay, one thing that confuses me is why does it have the aiming device at the very end? The human's not going to be behind there. So I guess, but it's pretty crazy. It looks like it's even wearing leotards or tights. So it's going to be
ninja guard.
Yeah, ninja. It's a ninja dog with an RPG. I have to say that's pretty.
That's to cover up. That's to cover up the duct tape holding the RPG on it.
Yeah,
right?
the duct tape holding it on, and then they have WD-40 in the joints. So it's more American than you think. All right, and so that's of course a RPG dog. So share that one out. That will be a meme of some sort. And then Xi threatens the U.S. after more lawmakers travel to Taiwan. Now, of course, a lot of people were sending me messages over the last 48 hours about this. People were very surprised that on top of the whole Pelosi visit, they actually sent more people there. People were caught off guard by this. We knew about this because we actually covered this. We let you know that there was actual plans for not only her to go, but then other lawmakers to go. And it says that Xi announced more military drills around Taiwan, and a CCP spokesperson threatened to, quote, take resolute and strong measures on Monday after a second American delegation set foot on the island Sunday, weeks after House Speaker Nancy Pelosi did. Another thing is we just covered their actual WeChat or their social media. A lot of people did and we don't know if this is absolutely true. This is what's on their social media. This could totally be some like reverse psychology stuff, because normally people do not speak out about their disapproval of the government on Xi's social media. You just don't. In fact, your social media, your phone, everything is connected if you live there. So if you say something bad, the Xi government basically knows it's 100% you. There's no like, unless they're using a VPN, pretty much any account has to be linked to then a cell phone number that then has to be linked to this unique ID. So if they say anything bad, then it goes right back to the government. Just to give you an example of this, when the country of Xi's country did a poll on how good people thought their government was, they had like a 98.8% approval rating of the people. Well, why? Well, because they called random people's houses and they said, "This is, the CCP. We want you to rate it from 1 to 10 or 1 to 5 on your phone." Well, they knew if it came to their actual phone, then that means it came to their actual name. If they don't say 10, then they could be targeted. This was a whole big thing back then, and everybody's like, well, this isn't a realistic poll because you did it to where everybody knew that the government knew that was connected to your ID. Nobody wants to speak out. In fact, people were more talking about how they were surprised that some people actually lashed out, because if you do, you've got a big old crosshair on your forehead, right? So for this, when this actually happened, a lot of social media said that they didn't take strong enough measures. There was a post saying, we didn't do enough. We need to take out the USA right now and all of this. And there was a ton of posts, people's disapproval, or at least that's what they're saying. So that's not good if the people are risking, being a target to say, hey, we should have attacked them, or we should have done this, or we were weak. Because Xi is somebody who, does not like seeing that kind of stuff. They've made law changes over people talking trash about them. Law changes that make things more draconian for people because they spoke out. That's why people don't speak out there. You end up getting targeted. So for them to say that, and then this happens, and now they're saying that they're going to take resolute and strong measures after this kind of social media wide kind of call out of Xi's, country not doing enough, it's just kind of freaky. It's like, are they going to be, much stronger because they even realize even their people are like, hey, you're drawing red lines, but you're not actually living up to it. People are calling Xi out and saying, you're being weak. You look weak, and that's not good. That's kind of like when all of those natural disasters happened in Xi's country. They had massive flooding, lots and lots of farms were messed up and destroyed, and whatever else. That actually makes in their what is it called? Their not a delegation of God.
Heavenly mandate.
In the heavenly mandate in their religion, essentially, if there's all these disasters, that's God's way of telling them that their leader isn't doing a good job, or it reflects badly on their leader. So when all those disasters happened, people were calling like, hey, this doesn't look good for you. He made a lot of responses and did all sorts of stuff to try to fix his reputation after that. Imagine if, instead of the president's approval numbers, if you had disasters and that would actually reflect poorly on a president. Oh, wait, they did that with Trump. That's right. They actually blamed him for storms. I guess I could see it. Either way, very, very insane stuff. Now, before I move on, I want to remind you guys, if you do want to protect your cars, your generators, your boats, anything that you want to keep running, including your home, your ham radio, after a CME or an EMP, then you definitely want to put an EMP Shield on it. Now, EMP Shield has lots of very, very exciting stuff coming up, but also they are the same company that has worked with agencies like DHS, DOD, and of course on the DEMSO team helping protect the Texas grid. This company is a veteran-owned company. It makes devices that can ground the signal from all three phases of an EMP in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device. Now, if you want your car to run after a Carrington-level event or an EMP, then you would definitely want to look into getting one of these and wiring it into your vehicle or into your home or generators. Again, go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. Every time you go over there, you're going to get a discount of $50 off, and you are also going to be supporting our channel. So I appreciate that, and thank you guys for doing so. All right, and then Dex, I'm going to let you take over from here. We've got lots of crazy stuff here.
Absolutely, Adam. So look, there is a ton of other information. There is the subject that's going on right now that has got everyone up in arms, no matter what side you're on. Typically, if you're on one side, you may be cheering, and if you're on the other side, you're probably jeering. But definitely, we're trying to cover this the best we can, and at least give you the information that we can find. If you head over to marfooglenews.com, if you click on the thumbnail for today's show, or if you open that description on YouTube and click the first link, it's called Show Notes. It'll take you right here to this page. You'll get the links to all the articles we've just covered. You'll get the links to Terry Franz and Cars for Heroes. That's on the page. But then when you scroll down, there's a whole nother section of content. It's called Overflow. This is where you get the rest of the story. So a lot of stuff going on here related to the events that happened in Mar-a-Lago. There are tons of updates. There's a lot happening regarding passports that have allegedly been seized, regarding new people that are going to be investigated and brought in, and a lot of things that were revealed and then they're now trying to not reveal and hold back. So if you want to know what's going on, if you want to hear some of the other information, it's there, a little bit of both sides. And you'll get that and so much more. There's a ton of other information happening. There was some, wagering coming out of a Saudi billionaire during the invasion. It'd be interesting to know what happened there. Updates on artillery, and specifically ramjet powered, which if I remember correctly, it gives them a 44-mile distance on artillery. That's something we've never seen before with artillery. It's one of those things that we for many years just took for granted. You can learn more about that if you follow the CMEs and what's going on. Something called a giant star called Betelgeuse actually blew something it's called a surface, an SME. This happened back a couple years ago, but a lot of the information was analyzed about that. That type of event is so strong. I don't think anything would survive from it. But what's interesting is that that's a star, and that's what happened, and it's still there. They thought it was collapsing, but it looks like it hasn't. That's sort of the report going on with that. So just put that in the back of your mind. Not that there's anything you can ever do with it, but we allegedly circle around a giant star, and it could do the same thing. Hopefully, if it ever does, it's not pointed in our direction, because that's one heck of a massive blast that came off that they've never seen before. Lots of other things going on, updates from specific CEOs and what happened with them, and a full-page ad that I would hope guys out there all over town never have happen to them, but a disgruntled woman decided to take out the cheater in a full page ad. If you want to learn more about that, and wrestling sharks on the beach and lots more, it's all there on marfooglenews.com. There's a whole show of information. Just scroll down to that overflow section. If you're on YouTube, open the description and click on the show notes link.
Dear Steve, I hope you're happy with her. Now the whole town will know what a jerk you are. That's full page spread. That's something my mom would have done.
She actually put in there, and I paid for this ad with your credit card. But then technically the newspaper said, hey, we can't accept a credit card because it's in his name and you can't sign for it, but we'll run it for free anyway.
Oh my God. That's awesome. Also, I didn't get to mention it today because we did basically go over it, but I just want to remind you, marfooglenews.com/prep, there is a brand new sale, and there is actually $250 off, the biggest discount they have ever done before on the actual 3-month supply. So again, that is $250 off. It's never been over $150 on the 3-month. Now it is $250 with our link, marfooglenews.com/prep. All right, thank you guys. And then again, thank you everybody over on DLive. We have tons of great people that popped in over the last few minutes. Thank you again, Kenny Crowder, Kano's Kid, Maria Madrigal, Joseph Newhouse, and, of course, some folks, the Be Real Beast, thank you, says, good evening, everyone. I know there is not much finance spoke of, but gold's on sale, stock up. Is it on sale or is it lower right now? And then Kenny Crowder, Energy Solar or any other links, EMP Shield. Huh, Kenny, that's very weird.
Can you email me? And I got some questions. We can't do it in a live show, but just email me. And
yeah,
I'll
that
ask
is
you a few
weird.
Questions.
And then Texas Rob 49. Again, thank you. Last show, this one for Dex, Kenny Crowder, Nana of Montana. Thank you for your support. Mystery School. Lady Green Eyes says, keep loving and lifting up all each other in prayer. Thank you, Adam, for helping me many years ago. Love you all from the bottom of my heart. Lady Green Eyes, I hope you're doing well, and I'm praying for you. Nana of Montana, again, thank you. Banished Shadow, Stephen McMahon, PB Ben, GoPro Chicken, Reality Flow, Vibron, Little Bear, Scooby-Doo Do-Right, and everybody else that has supported over the last week. I thank you. All right, you guys, it's now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout-out. It's a shoutro. For heroes holding it down, very friends up in the house. Thank you, J Girl, that's me, Arte, Cookielicious, and everybody else. Thank you, Chris Sussman. Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you for subscribing. Derek McLovin. Clap for Al and Amanda, Rachel, Arte, and the rest is saving history and the Chewy weather. Boom, 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 boom. Thank you, Be Real Beast, Kenny Crowder, Maria Madrigal. Kenny Crowder and Be Real Beast, you guys are tied with Derek McLovin tonight. Thank you for being top supporters. Derek McLovin, Derek McLovin, on dum dum dum. Derek McLovin, on love love love. Derek McLovin, on 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 Derek. I'm Be Real Beast and the Kenny Crowder. Everybody. for heroes holding it down. Very friends up in the house. Cause for heroes holding it down. Very friends up in the house. Super high, super. Got a candy on the crowder and the Derrick McLaughlin. Everybody doing it, I'm pushing the shopping. Red Hill Molly on the 81. Fake version, prepare here day. Ha, yeah, I breathe. Bring your own bag and everybody see. This one for Jay, or the XJ. Hey, 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 hey. Got a George Wadded in and I bought Linda Ghost. Becky Banton and a Linda McDaniels. Hey, with a cop and Scotty. Stay safe, be prepared and got it. God bless, and that's smash. Smash is the way with the deal with the light. Hey now, everybody right. Chance of a ball, chance of a ball. Hey now, with a storm rider. J-Stone 78, higher. With a Brian Nider. God is Stone and now Warren G. Peace out, Fooglers. Everybody gonna go Jerry Mars. I know what world is. Where in the world is Elon? Is he? Maybe I'm gonna bow. Deal back, I am the bow. Hey, with a solid cedar. But Linda, you're here. Everybody feed ya, feed ya. Up, 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 up. Teresa K, Kenny Crowder. Everybody, hey, nah, Cody Wee with a photo. Big no, yes, he's that good. Carry on a Duncan, carry on a safer. Oh, now come on and I'll bring it on a hay bar. Hey, don't go out, bring a hand up, and handle prep a cloud for real. Tell me, mom, hey, how high, and I have gray, how back hell. And I feel Billy now, Google, not Marfoogle. I'm number one news, I got all up in the house. Phil Billy, everybody got that mouse. And I got crazy, yo. Everybody gonna go crazy, yo. Raise on the news, an asteroid's gonna destroy everything that once brought you joy. In on the news, an asteroid's gonna destroy everything that once brought you joy. Sam Lamb, how come the I also is the old Sam my man. I'm him back with that Bobby Sue, Morphia, and got you too. In the spot on world with the monkey bar. Do it right down and I gotta die. George Washington. Time to pack a wild mushroom, 6 stones, 78 kangaroos, man. Stealth mode in the gym. Gil Fire doing. Everybody, Brian, I'm back up. And the Jerry Mars in the Samberland. Everybody gonna call an ambulance. Everybody got the step finesse. And the moon knows, and the moon knows. Maybe it's a little bit of moon knows. Everybody really gotta go to school though. Hey, in just a week. Chewy on the weather and the RJ love. Tap, tap, tap the foot and got rush. Everybody with the self mode. And everybody gonna go with flow. Hey, with the self mode. Hell, she but doggo and everybody already know. No. O-I-H-O, no idea that that was you. O-I-M-L, everybody gonna go, I'm swell. Oh. the gokes in the Sean's every roast. Milky toast. Aye. Or maybe French toast. Everybody gotta go El Cheapo Dado. I'll go. Hey, let's go to Mar-a-Lago. I'll go. Google number one. Ohio go, but eyes and smile on world and Michael Jordan. Deep state of mind in the old age white in the red Zoy. Everybody on time in the up late with it ring me love it. Truth is out in a Michael X every act. Oh, I'm a dude and check. Got the Michael on the hags, so everybody has your Sarah bundle in about said JJ. We chat members have the freshest organs. We chat members have the freshest organs. Katie Black, Marky May, everybody gonna bring her back his eye. Kenny